Hey there. So if you are thinking about moving to the Salt Lake City area, then this video is perfect for you because I'm going to share with you why you should avoid moving to Salt Lake City, Utah, unless you can handle these 10 facts. And I'm getting after it right now. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Greg Spackman. I'm with the Living in Salt Lake City channel. If you are looking to learn everything about what it's like to live here, eat here, sleep here, play here in the Salt Lake City area, then click the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time I do new videos. Lately, I've been getting a ton of people that are calling me, texting me, emailing me about making that move here to the Salt Lake City area or elsewhere in Utah. I absolutely love it. So if that's you, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and let's talk about getting you here to Utah. So number one thing that you need to know about living here in the Salt Lake City area, and that's the weather. It is really, really dry here. So that means you're going to need lots of chapstick, lots of lotion. You're going to need to stay hydrated due to it being dry. Wintertime here, we get snow, we get rain, we get cold weather. So it is cold here. It is anywhere from the 20s to 40s typically for the winter time. Summertime, it's going to be somewhere in the 90s to the high hundreds, 107, 108 or so. Typically that only lasts a week or two, so that's awesome. Spring and fall, amazing times of year for weather, so I won't even really touch on those because it's awesome. But weather here is really, really cool because you get all four seasons in Utah. You get the changing of the leaves. It just feels like a real place with all of the weather that you get to deal with here in Utah. The number two thing that you need to be aware of when living in Salt Lake City is our high cost of housing. If you love paying a lot for rent, then Utah may be the best place for you. Rent is pretty expensive here, as well as our housing. You're going to be somewhere in the $550,000, $500,000 mark for a home. And you can definitely spend, up to $40 million for a place up in Park City area. So really, it just depends on what your budget is. And that's one of the things that we definitely talk to you about when you're making that move here. What budget? Where do you need to live? Where are you going to be working? What other things do you like to do in the outdoors? Do you want to be closer to Idaho side or closer to going maybe to Las Vegas often like we do? Just depends on what you're looking for, where you want to live, and where you're going to be working. Do you have family in the area? That sort of thing. Just know, like apartments here, when we were looking at apartments for our daughter Megan before she went to university or Utah Valley University, rent for her was around $1,500 a month, and then they tacked on this technology fee, and then they also charge for parking, whether you get a covered spot or uncovered spot. So rentals here were pretty expensive as far as apartments go. You can definitely do cheaper as you get closer to Salt Lake in some of the areas, but rent is definitely not something that's cheap. Like I said, medium home price somewhere in the $475,000 mark in and around Salt Lake. And then really it just depends on the areas, and we cover all of that in your when you're looking to make that move here. The number three thing that you need to know about making that move here to Utah is our food scene. It's just not really good here in Utah. I think it's pretty poor. I haven't found a great Mexican place here for food. Everything that I've tried is really not much better than Taco Bell for me as far as that goes. There is a few places that my wife thinks are okay, but nothing where we go, this is fabulous Mexican food. One plus is if you haven't eaten at Del Taco ever or in a long time, then we have Del Taco here. We also have El Pollo Loco, so that's pretty cool that you can get El Pollo Loco. We usually will get that once a week. We'll do like a side salad with a chopped chicken breast, and then they have this creamy cilantro dressing that's really good. So that's pretty healthy for you, and it's actually pretty tasty. So decent burger places here. We have found that. There's a place called Lucky's, and they have one that's in Salt Lake and one that's in West Jordan, and those are pretty good. If you're a sushi fan like myself, then Takashi Sushi up in Salt Lake is awesome. I don't know if I've eaten sushi that's better elsewhere, or it's at least as good as everywhere else I've eaten sushi around the US. So sushi fan, just a number of different places that you're going to find to eat here, but the food scene is not super great. There's a lot of chain restaurants. It's really, really common here. Chain restaurants. The original Pancake House is a I guess it's a bright spot in the food scene here. The pancakes are really, really good there. So I highly recommend that you go there for breakfast if you're visiting here or you actually live here. What are some of your favorite places to eat in the Salt Lake City area? I'd love to hear from them in the comments below. Maybe that'll let me try something new as well. The number 4 fact that you need to know about living in the Salt Lake City area is your proximity to the outdoors. So this is a positive because you have little Cottonwood, big Cottonwood canyons that you're going to be able to go out. There's different ski resorts out each canyon, but it is amazing for all of the hiking and fishing and camping and boating and snow skiing, snowboarding, all of that you get to do out those 2 canyons. And they are 10-minute drive if you're in certain areas or up to a 45-minute drive if you're in others. Just know that you're going to be able to get to the outdoors really, really easily here in the Salt Lake City area. And that's a huge plus of living here. One of the things that I look forward to and love living here in Utah is just all the outdoor activities that I get to go do now. The number 5 thing that you need to know about, and if you don't like it, then you might want to avoid living here in Utah, and that's how many Mormons or LDS people, their faith is just ginormous here. I think, this is where they settled here. There are just tons and tons of churches that are in pretty much every subdivision. Every subdivision has its own church or ward, I think they call it. One great thing is they're very, very well maintained. So they look lush. They stay green all year long. They're just super cool. And then you also have all of the temples that they have, and they're pretty fantastic to see at night with all the lights on them. Draper Temple is one that we see the most out to the east, and it's well lit up, and you can see it all the way from where we live. But there's just a number of things that have to do with the church, and I see the church really as no negative here. However, you're going to find online if you do research that it's a big negative here. So if you think it's a negative, would love to hear some of your thoughts on the comments below about it. So let me know what you think. So if you can't handle the taxes here in the Salt Lake City area, then that would be another reason to not make that move here. But we have a flat tax here in Utah, 4.65%. Sales tax starts at 6.1%, and then the max local rate can tack on another 2.95% to that. So it just depends on which area you're going to be living in, what your sales tax is actually going to be. Corporate taxes are right around the 5% mark. Property taxes, however, are the 8th lowest in the nation, so that's cool. So all in all, taxes for me seem like they're pretty normal, pretty standard. It would be really cool if we could get no state income tax, if they just tweak the sales tax a little bit and then maybe add a little bit to the gasoline tax to make the budget work. But we should be able to make that work, especially with what they do for liquor tax. We should be able to not have a state income tax here in Utah. The number 7 thing that you need to be aware of about living here in Salt Lake City is our politics. So if you aren't aware, Utah is a pretty heavily leaning red state, although in some elections it goes more libertarian style, but overall it stays pretty red. It is a pro-life, pro-gun state, so if either of those 2 things really, really bother you, then Utah might be a state to avoid. However, I don't think you're going to see any sort of issue unless you move into some of the further out areas. Like the further out you get from the major cities, the more and more, I guess, conservative it gets. So it's just something that you need to do your research online about if that's important to you, if you swing one side or the other. When you live in the Salt Lake City area, then it's pretty much a 50-50 split. So you're going to find certain cities are a little bit more leaning one way or the other. It's definitely something that we can talk about, but I definitely see no issue with whichever side of the spectrum that you are. It makes no issue at all about where you live. People don't seem to care much here in Utah about which way, who you vote for, that sort of thing. The number 8 thing that you need to be aware of about living here in Salt Lake City is our drivers. Holy cow. We have some of the worst drivers anywhere that I've ever been. I've been to numerous states across the U.S., traveled all around, and we just have some of the worst drivers. They do not know what a turn signal is. Most drivers don't seem to signal at all when they're changing lanes, so they'll just cut from the fast lane all the way off and get off the freeway right in front of you for no reason. They easily could have just went behind you. I guess the biggest thing with drivers here that drive me the most nuts is they drive really, really fast. So they will drive 100 miles an hour, and it doesn't seem like they are a good driver at all. And then the second thing that bothers me the most is people running red lights. So you're going to find at most stoplights, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 cars will go through once it changes to red. And some of them you can see that it's completely fully red. It wasn't even like a close thing where maybe like they couldn't stop in time. They just went through the whole thing. And so I let everyone that's moving here know, and my kids know for sure, that if they happen to be first in line and they're going to go right when the light changes, they need to just take another half second before they go, even if it means the chump behind them honks the horn at them. It's much safer for them to do that than to have someone that runs the red light crash into them. I'd rather have them have someone honk at them than get into some sort of an accident. So just know that the drivers here are pretty poor. If you think you have bad drivers in your area, then comment below what area you live and what you think about your drivers. The number 9 thing you need to know about living here in Utah, something I wasn't aware of when we made that move here to Utah, was that there's no gambling. I didn't know that they didn't have a state lottery, that you couldn't go to any card houses, that there weren't any casinos, anything like that. Nothing to do with gambling in Utah. So if you want to go get your gambling fix, like I do every now and then, you can either go to Wendover, Nevada, and that's out west, out I-80 towards Reno, about an hour and 45 minutes from Salt Lake. Or you can do what we do most of the time, and that's a 5.5 hour drive south on I-15. You can do 80 miles an hour on the freeway pretty much the whole way to Las Vegas. So just know that that's an option. And Vegas has cheap hotel rooms, so we will go for a night or two to get away from our kids and stuff and just have a good time. It used to be much more fun to go to Vegas when we had all the buffets. Now they're pretty much gone for buffets, but there's still some really good food choices and options there in Las Vegas. So just know if you're into gambling, you're not gonna be able to do that. When we've been having those huge mega lotteries that are over $1 billion, if you want to buy lottery tickets, you have to go down to Mesquite, Arizona is the closest place, I believe, to get tickets. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the closest place you're gonna be able to go to get tickets. And so that's something you need to be aware of. The number 10 fact that you need to be aware of, or else you should avoid living in Utah, is our liquor laws. So if you drink alcohol, if you don't drink alcohol, then it won't be an issue at all. But if you do, just know that gas stations and grocery stores only sell 3.2% alcohol and some hard seltzers. Otherwise, you're going to the state-run liquor stores to buy everything else, and they control prices and everything there. So I haven't really compared pricing over what, say a bottle of Grey Goose costs at the state liquor store versus what it costs elsewhere. I'll have to do that just so I can report that in one of my videos. But you're just going to notice that there's for alcohol, if that's important to you, that you need to follow some certain things, like you can't buy it on Sunday, can't buy it on holidays. The state-run liquor stores have certain hours, so I guess you'll kind of get aware and get used to whatever that is. So you make sure that you have alcohol if you want it for, say, Sunday football or Super Bowl Sunday, that sort of thing. You're going to find that restaurants and bars, there's like 4 different liquor licenses that they can have. So when you go into a place like Chili's, they have a bar, but they actually don't have anybody making drinks at the bar. So it's kind of dumb that they have the bar. I would just make tables there. But different places have different rules. When they are 21 and over, then they can have the bar, they can make mixed drinks and all of that, but you can't eat there. So when I wanted to take my kids to a couple of places with burgers and they have a bar, then they can't eat there. So to me, that seems really stupid, and I've grown up where I could bring them anywhere. I don't think that it really makes them want to drink. At least it for sure didn't, in my eyes, make me want to drink, because I saw other people older drinking. I think you either do or you don't want to do it, or you try it and you find that it tastes really bad. Just know that you're going to see some different setups for alcohol in restaurants and bars, and you're going to just be, a little bit, I don't know, it's going to feel weird, I guess, at first. And then once you figure that out, it's fine. Sometimes it's kind of nice when you go into the pub and, you can get a good burger and there's no children involved at all. But Other times you might want to bring your kids if you have kids like me. So if these 10 facts that I've shared with you today don't bother you and you want more information about making that move here to the Salt Lake City area or anywhere in Utah, please reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Let's talk about getting you here to Utah. I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, be rad.